It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello, and for the first time in nearly 2 years, and for possibly the last time ever, welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show. My name is Greg, and I feel like I need to start with a couple of apologies. Now, I'm not going to apologise for how long it's been since the last show, because I'm going to come to that shortly, but I do want to apologise for my appearance. Now, first of all, the moustache. I know over the years, if you've been watching these videos, you'll have seen me in all sorts of different costumes, with all sorts of different look, with facial hair, for different parts that I've had as an actor. But this one is particularly horrible. I'm doing a Fawlty Towers tribute night at the end of this week. That's why I look this way. This isn't a style choice, and I think no man looks good in a moustache, so I thought I would apologise for that. I also have to apologise for breaking the rules of Outfit Roulette. Now, if you watched the last episode, which was way back in December 2022, Outfit Roulette kicked up my green golf jacket, a vest and sunglasses. I didn't want to wear sunglasses because I wanted to be able to look you in the eye today, and I wanted you to be able to look me in the eye. My green golf jacket has gone. It got covered in paint and ripped, so that went away to a linen bank to be pulled apart and remade into other clothing, and I didn't want to just sit here in a vest. So just on this occasion, I decided to choose what I'm going to wear, and if we bring back Series 4, Outfit Roulette will be reinstated, and I will abide by the rules of that. So that's the apologies done. I'm sorry it's been so long. Having said I wouldn't apologise for it, but circumstances just overtook me. Other work started becoming a bit more needy of my time. I didn't have access to the studio for a while, and so I didn't record them, and then I just stopped doing it, and then I didn't think about it anymore. But a few people have asked, and I've looked at stuff on the YouTube channel and wanted to start again. So I'm doing another one now. Why now? Because I've got access to this room again, and it felt right. I wasn't happy with the way things ended. It felt like Series 3 just kind of fizzled out. And it didn't sit right with me that my last appearance on the Daylight Midnight Show, I didn't know it was my last appearance on the Daylight Midnight Show. I wanted us to have a proper goodbye. I thought I'd come back, tie a nice bow on it, and then decide whether to bring this stuff back in a new location and with new features or not. So what I'm going to do is put my glasses on now. Because what I'd like to do, as this might be the last ever Daylight Midnight Show, I decided to bring back all the old features and give them all a quick run. One more chance to go around the block with the Daylight Midnight Show features from the first 3 series before we possibly put this thing to bed completely. Just to go back, I wasn't happy with the last few episodes because I think I mentioned it, but I had some pretty major dental surgery done. I had 2 teeth rebuilt and 1 taken out. And in those last couple of episodes, if you've watched them, I was struggling to speak clearly, I was spitting, I was getting used to the feel of my new mouth, and I didn't think I did a very good job. So I wanted to have one more go at it as well, so that's another reason. So you're going to see me referring to some notes that I've put up here, because I've got so much that I want to get through that I've actually left myself some notes. I'm not worrying about the time. You might remember the timer, 10 minutes per episode. We're not going to worry about that. I'll keep it as brief as I can, but we're going to go through everything we used to go through, and then we'll see how we feel at the end of it. So a rhyming couplet to start the show with then. Recent Daylight Midnight output may have been quite slack. The show won't be much better, but at least we've brought it back. With that, we will set the quiz question for today. This is what we were doing in Series 3. If you remember, I will set you a riddle. The answer to that is one word, and if you can work out what that word is during the course of the show, you can award yourself a prize from your own cupboard. That word is on this expensive display cabinet here, which is being guarded by DM, the Daylight Midnight Monkey, doing his security work every week. So that's in place already. This is this week's quiz question, and here we go. It's bigger than a mite, smaller than a maisonette, and I guarantee you will see one on screen sometime during this show. Bigger than a mite, smaller than a maisonette, and I guarantee you will see one on stage, on screen, sometime during this show. And don't forget, because the main words in the clue begin with the letter M, it means the answer also begins with the letter M. So in the course of this show, you have to come up with a word beginning with the letter M that is the answer to this riddle. Bigger than a mite, smaller than a maisonette, and I guarantee you will see one on screen sometime during this show. So you be thinking about that. While we do that, we'll find out what kind of show we'll have by activating the Gregometer. This hasn't been seen for a while. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, this is a very expensive, very exclusive scientific instrument designed by physicists and psychologists in the Philippines. And what this is going to do is measure things like my levels of pre-show anxiety, how often I blink every minute, how much I think about cheese during the show, and it's going to collate all that information, run it through a supercomputer, and it's going to come up with one word that sums up how I'm feeling today and what kind of show you can expect. And we can't use the expensive display cabinet because it's already being used, so it's just going to print it out near my feet, And this week I can tell you the word that the Gregometer thinks sums up me and the kind of show you're going to have is the word strange. Yeah, most of the time in the last few months, I just feel a bit strange. So you might have quite a strange show. So that's the Gregometer done. Now let's bring back the wonderful word of the week. Now this is a word that since the last show I have come into contact with. I wasn't familiar with it. I've started using it. I decided to share with you. And this week's wonderful word of the week is the word annuant. And annuant, let me get this right, performing or involved in the action of nodding. When I was looking back through some of these shows to remember what the different features were, something I noticed was every so often I'd be prone to, finishing a sentence by doing this. I think because there's no one in here with me, I've got no one to react to what I'm doing. It's kind of like an affirmation that I've reached the end of a sentence. So that's our wonderful word of the week, is the word annuant. That's that one done. So, Door of Delights. Now, nothing's been put on the Door of Delight since I've been away, and I can assure you, like some kind of weird shrine to the show, this is exactly how this door has been left since we last recorded back in December 2022. It hasn't all been taken away, packed away and brought back up again for today. This is exactly how it was left. So we've still got the show mascot, Pogo Dave Penguin, the house rules, which I won't go over for now, the Daylight Midnight logo that my son designed, outfit roulette from Series 3, this, I believe, if memory serves, is the flag of Kiribati, the island nation, which I chose as my favourite flag to have as a poster, not necessarily as a flag. Krusty the Clownfish, which was our official fish of the Daylight Midnight show. The badge of Mexico, because when I last did a show, it was during the Qatar World Cup in December 2022, and I decided that was my favourite shirt emblem to have. And something I did notice as well, looking back at a couple of old shows, which I'd never done before, we actually picked a Daylight Midnight official cookie, and it was an almond cookie. I did one of those online surveys, personality tests, and it told me at the end of it that I was an almond cookie. I don't like the taste of almonds, so I never bought any, and that's probably why we never had a picture of it. So the Door of Delights hasn't changed, there's nothing new to go over. But what's this here? It's only this week's topical limerick. So the story behind this is this one, and it's to do with botany and archaeology. About 25 years ago, there was a team going through some caves in Judea, not far from Jerusalem, I believe, and they were trying to find old artifacts, and in amongst what they found what they identified as a very old seed from a mystery plant. They took it away, they kept it safe, they didn't know what to do with it. 10 years later, with advances in science, another team came along and said, we think we can get it to grow. No matter how old it is, we think we can get it to grow. So they've planted it, they've been looking after it. 5 weeks later, it started to shoot up through the ground. They couldn't believe it. They've let it grow, they've looked after it. They've kept it in a very secure area because obviously it's a very old plant. It could have died of a strange disease that could now come back to life and threaten other plants around the area. So they've kept it very, very secure, but they've done DNA testing and they think it's a species that has been extinct for about 1,000 to 1,200 years. They think it might be a healing plant that's referenced in the Bible. But apart from that, they have no idea what it is. But they've released pictures this week, an amazing story, very Jurassic Park-esque. So I've written a limerick about that story. Some scientists found an old seed, which they planted and started to feed. Now it's 3 meters tall, but we know bugger all, it could be a tree or a weed. I'm quite proud of that after a long break. I will give that a B+. So what's next? Next is the Cartoonimator, which, if I remember rightly, had a theme song on the guitar. Oh, that's out of tune, but we'll go with it. The answer to our little quiz will be revealed later. Let's see what gets thrown out by Greg's Cartoonimator. So the Cartoonimator is a little device that sits in the office and it sucks in stuff that's been happening between the shows, and then it does a little drawing for you that we put up on the Door of Delights. This is the Cartoonimator, and this is this week's picture. I'm quite proud of this. That is my rudimentary drawing of a human heart. And you might notice that there are little wires going into various parts of the heart. And the reason I've drawn this is quite a major event that's happened since the last show. Since the last time I recorded a Daylight Midnight show, this is actually a procedure that I've had to have done. It's called an ablation. I wouldn't recommend having one done unless you need it, but what they do is they put wires into your heart. They do a little 3D map of the electrical circuits in your heart, and in my case they then burn part of your heart away to stop you having problems in the future. So that's the Cartoonimator drawing for this week, and that can sit there where you can see it for the rest of the show, and everything else has fallen down. So we'll carry straight on as I destroy the studio around me. Oh, the brown folder. So the Cartoonimator now switches back to its original guise of being the brown folder, and this had a theme song that I believe was done on the ukulele. So, some days I am perky, some days I am down. Let's see what is written in the folder that is brown. So what I used to do is during the course of the week I would just write down little notes about things I was thinking about that I wanted to talk to you about, and I would put them in the brown folder and then we'd go through them. Rather a lot has happened in the 18, 19, 20 months since I last recorded one of these. So I haven't been taking notes, but what I have done, similar to in Series 3, is I've done a list of Great 8. So one of my Great 8 list of things, and the topic is big things that have happened since the last Daylight Midnight show. So these aren't going to be in any chronological order, they're not going to be in order of preference, so this isn't necessarily the major things that have happened to me, but while I was reflecting on doing this show again, and I thought, how do I go about telling you some of the things that have gone on in the time that we've been apart? I'm sure your life has expanded and changed and different things have happened. Mine certainly has, and I didn't know how to put all that down. Do I write a song about it or a poem? Do I just leave it and carry on regardless? But I thought I would do a Great 8 list of things that have happened to me or things that I've done that just happened to pop in my head that day as things that I would like to share with you. So in no particular order, things that have happened since the last Daylight Midnight show. Number one, I've been to the National Space Centre near Leicester. Very good day out if you're interested in that kind of thing. Number two, I sang a song to a beach full of people in Tenerife. I can't remember whether I put this on this YouTube channel already because someone did film it for me, but under really weird circumstances while on holiday, I ended up playing a guitar and singing one of my songs to a beach full of people in Tenerife, which was great. Number three, I've had shingles. That wasn't so great. Number four, my eldest son has passed his A-levels and started full-time work. Number five, my youngest son has passed his GCSEs and has now started his A-levels. Number six, I've moved house twice. So does that count as two events or one? I'm gonna leave it as one. So I've moved house, but I've done it twice. Number seven, I've played at a music festival. I've worked at them before, but for the first time this year, I actually performed at a music festival where I sang some of my own songs. And it rained just before I went on, so my audience was about 23 people. They were enthusiastic, they were small, but I still played at a festival. And finally, number eight, and this actually really surprised me because I thought this all started pre-interval, as we'll call it. But it turns out it was January last year I started doing this, so just after we recorded the last one, I've started performing regularly as Basil Fawlty. I had done one-offs before, but I've started doing it regularly for a certain company. So that gives me a reason to apologise again for the moustache. I would not look like this by choice. So, we've made it all the way through. A rhyming couplet to end the show now we've managed to get to. So, the Daylight Midnight show just had a nearly 2-year wait, and if this is the last one, all my memories are great. So just to get serious for a moment, I started doing the Daylight Midnight show during the first lockdown 4 years ago in early summer 2020, I think. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just set the camera up and talked for 5 minutes, and then it kind of evolved and growed from there with help from people that had watched the early ones. And it really gave me something to concentrate on and focus on and let my creative juices flow. And that was really helpful for me because I think a lot of people found the lockdowns hard. For me, all my work was based on performing in front of a group of people, and all that work had to stop for a very long time. And that made me quite sad, and we didn't know when any of that was going to start up again, and just being able to concentrate some of that energy and disappointment into producing this show really was important to me. So thank you for that. That's why it's so nice for me to come back and do it possibly one more time. And I can't believe we've made it to the end. So the quiz reveal then, let's do this. Where did I write down the puzzle? There it is. Bigger than a mite, smaller than a maisonette, and I guarantee you will see one on screen sometime during the show. He was there all the time because the answer to this week's riddle was a monkey. And I've just realised the sun has probably been messing up the camera and we might have to re-record this whole thing. Light. But isn't this perfect for the name of the show? Daylight Midnight. There we are. It's all come together better than I could have hoped for. I will see you very soon. Have a great few days. Or 2 years, depending on how long I leave it this time. Love you.